Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for I think our number 30 Departures Lounge travel show. We hope you've got a great glass of something in your hand and you're going to be really thrilled to hear from our presenters today. My name is Kathy Scott. I'm the owner of Departures Travel on Oak Bay Avenue and co-owner of the Sydney Departures Travel Store. And we have Kathy Larson with us today, co-owner of Sydney Departures Travel, as well as Chaz Dunwoody from Silversea Cruises, who's going to be taking over the presentation for us today. We had a really great chat with Charles and Barbara just prior to our going live today, and I think you're going to be really excited to hear more. So Chaz, take it away and tell us all about wonderful things at Silversea.
Absolutely, Kathy. Thank you so much for having us this evening, and thank you everybody for joining us as well. So my name's Chaz Dunwoody. I'm the Area Sales Director for Silversea Cruises. I reside in Seattle, Washington, so unfortunately can't come see you guys right now, but hopefully that will change in the near future. I oversee about 5 states of our business and then 2 provinces in Canada as well. So as a special guest, I have my friend Barbara Steger, who is our Vice President of Strategic Accounts, who's going to walk us through the beginning part of our presentation. Barbara, welcome to the presentation.
Thank you, Chaz. Thank you, Kathy Squared, we decided, right? So hi, Kathy's. Thank you so much for welcoming me today and all of you joining today. It's our pleasure to present and tell you all things Silversea. So first off, I love this picture. I have been in the travel industry over 35 years, that's hard to say, and I've always sailed on what we call classic or traditional cruising. And since Silversea, which offers expedition cruising, this has become my new favorite way to cruise. So here we are in Antarctica. But to start at the beginning, we all are in this together. It may have become a little cliche now, but we like to say at Silversea, you know, we're all in the same storm, but maybe we're all in different lifeboats, right? But speaking of boats or ships, this picture makes me sad because this was right after all our ships delivered their guests to their ports of call in March and early April, and then they all gathered over, and this is in Tenerife. Okay, so we currently have 8 ships. So 5 of them were here in Tenerife, and we have 3 that are still out there cruising. And we actually have one good story about the Silver Muse, who repatriated our crew back to the Philippines, and now the Silver Muse is in Singapore. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you'll be hearing more about our brand new, beautiful ship, the Silver Origin, and she is waiting in Mantra, Ecuador, to begin her Galapagos sailings. So she's waiting there. And thirdly, we have our beautiful Silver Spirit that is currently in Saudi Arabia. So Chaz, why don't you tell them the story about Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, absolutely. So Silver Spirit is our largest vessel. So it's 608 guests. So she was originally built as 540 passengers. We cut it in half and stretched it about 2 years ago to make it a sister to the Muse. I've sailed on her twice myself, but she's actually been sailing in Saudi Arabia in a closed loop charter operation right now. We've had 3 and 4 night sailings where we've actually had actual real guests on our ships cruising on our vessels. So if any of you enjoy armchair cruising like I do right now, there's a page on Instagram called Red Sea Spirit that actually shows how our ship's operating, where they're going, actually having the actual Silversea food that Barbara and I miss so much. And it's been a resounding success just because they are using our exact COVID protocols. And this picture really is great because we actually had real world practices on each side of our vessels, but now we actually have real passengers on our ships, and there have been 0 positive COVID tests in 2 months of sailing in Saudi Arabia on Silver Spirit. So we're very proud of that.
And so in light of what we're talking about at this time in cruising, we are very proud to be part of the Royal Caribbean Group. So there's a lot of financial stability behind us. And together with another great organization, Norwegian Cruise Line, we came together to put together a panel of experts, right? A healthy sail panel. We got the best in the business, former CDC, former doctors and everything, the best in their space, and gave recommendations to the CDC. So we presented 74 protocols a couple of weeks ago to the CDC. So we can assure them that when we start up cruising here in the United States, that we would never stop before we know for sure we can keep all our guests healthy and safe. Now, we do have a couple of pillars that I know everybody's curious about, what will be happening when we start up cruising again. And just to kind of give you a little bit of information, we'll have lots of testing before you leave your home. Within 5 days, you'll have to have a negative COVID test, and we will give you a rapid test, a reliable rapid test at the pier. There'll also be continual screening or daily screening, temperature checks. We will have the highest sanitation, as we always have had, with the hand washing and the sanitizers. We have new installed ventilation. I think it's called an HVAC, which is a filtration system that we can filter outside air. So there'll always be fresh air coming in and filtered. We also have to have our contingency plans should anything come along. We will have more suites for quarantining. We will have a larger medical staff on board. Initially, the destination and shore excursions will be a little different because we will vet every person that our guest will be in touch with on a shore excursion. So at this point, although you may want to have a tailored shore excursion, at this point you have to stay, what everybody uses the new term, the bubble. So you stay in the bubble so that we know you will remain healthy and safe. And last but certainly not least, our crew is of utmost importance for their health and safety, and they will all be quarantined for 2 weeks before they even get on the ship. So we're doing everything, and this is just a little bit. Once we start up cruising again, we will have details of all of these protocols for you. So if you're not familiar with Silversea, we currently have, this is so wonderful, 8 ships. And believe it or not, tomorrow we will be taking delivery of a brand new Silver Moon. For Silversea, 2020 wasn't such a bad year. We have 2 new ships that we took delivery. The Silver Origin, which is actually our most intimate ship at 100 guests. And you'll be hearing more of Chaz's personal experiences in the Galapagos, and she spends her entire time in the Galapagos. The next size is our other expedition ship, the Silver Explorer, with 144 guests. The Silver Cloud sails up to 254 guests, and she's also expedition. And the Antarctica. The Silver Wind currently will be another crossover from a classic ship to expedition. We mentioned the Silver Spirit, our largest ship, 608 guests, but you can see the theme here. The Silver Muse came out 3.5 years ago with 596 guests, and the Whisper and the Shadow are twins at 388. So you can see that we only carry hundreds of guests, not thousands. And then we still have new ships coming online, the Silver Dawn and Silver Evolution class. So again, if you're not familiar with us, and people ask us all the time, Chaz and I, what makes you different? Why would I want to sail on Silversea? Well, number one, we're all inclusive, and that's very important. So what we include on every sailing is the onboard gratuities, Wi-Fi, wine and spirits, complimentary soft drinks, bottled water, specialty coffees. Every room is a suite on every ship, and every room has a butler. So when people say, what makes you unique? A butler. And, people will say, well, what does a butler do? Well, a butler will do anything you'd like them to do. They will pack for you or unpack. I'm not a very needy person, and I was sort of that person, like, I don't need a butler. But when they show up with canopies in the afternoon, or maybe they've drawn your bath after you've been out in the Arctic all day and have your cocktail waiting for you, you can all get used to having a butler. So it's pretty cool. And the butlers are also on our expedition ships. So we have a highly qualified expedition team. And when you're on expedition, you're in Zodiacs and you do landings. We include a complimentary parka, which is certainly for the Arctic and Antarctica. And we have an exclusive partnership with the Royal Geographical Society. Now, what else makes us unique are the destinations we travel to. We can sail to over 900 destinations. Anywhere land touches water, we're there. Chaz already mentioned Alaska. You can sail with us two different ways. Well, that was when we were talking. So we have our classic Silver Muse with under 600 guests, and then the Silver Explorer at 144 guests. We do a lot of the north and southbound, as you'll see. You can also do the Denali packages. We go down to the Galapagos all year long. We go up to the Arctic. We go down to Antarctica. We have a lot of Mediterranean, Northern Europe, New England, Russian Far East. So you can see, we'll also go to the Kimberley next summer with Australia, New Zealand. So if you have a bucket list, if there's a place that you're interested in going, please take a look at Silversea. So people ask, well, so when you really take a look at it, you can see we'll have over 59 sailings in the Mediterranean. We cover the Med entirely. 38 sailings to the Galapagos. They're all 7-night from Balta and Cristobal and back. 37 voyages to Antarctica. We'll have 3 different ships. We go down to Australia, New Zealand, and then up to the Arctic and Northern Europe. Again, if you're a visual person, you can see where we go, spending the summers in Europe, Alaska, the Arctic, New England, Canada in the fall. Now, these are some fun facts. People might be curious to know, what is selling? Are people buying cruises right now? And they are. They are. People are planning. I think if you're a traveler, we're dreamers, and I'm ready to go. So our Venetian Society members, and maybe we have a few listening, I hope so, they're our past guests. And 53% of our bookings are from our past guests. But the number I think is really impressive is that 47%, the opposite of that, are all new to Silversea. They're new to brand. They're trusting us with their vacation and trusting us to make memories with them in the next coming years. People are asking, where are you going? What's popular? It's always Europe, 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 Europe. Whether it's the Med or Northern Europe, it's #1 what people are booking for 21 and further. Always the Caribbean and Alaska. Alaska is a top seller. We also have, many of you may have been booked this last year and have taken a future cruise credit. So a lot of people are taking advantage and rebooking their future cruises. And then people say, well, it's interesting. So if you were canceled off of Alaska this summer, 100% have rebooked Alaska. If you were canceled off our Galapagos, 100% return. So it's very interesting to see some of these dynamics. Now here's a great map of the Mediterranean. And we do cover the gamut from the Red Sea, through the Greek Isles, up through Croatia, around Venice, around the Boot, into Monte Carlo, which we do call our home. We have a home office in Monaco. And then through France, Spain, Portugal, and then down to the Canaries. You can either do it all if you have time, 58 days, or you can do it in segments.
Barbara, Barbara, wanted to jump in there too. That really kind of shows off our kind of destination immersion. So in 58 days on that same cruise, the only time you're repeating the same port of call is when you're doing a turnaround port. There's not many other cruise lines in the world that can do that, especially in the Mediterranean, simply like us with our small ships.
What a good point. Thanks, Chaz.
And I think something else that I would note is what we're noticing with our guests now is that clients tend to be wanting to do less flying and staying in destination longer. So this is brilliant. I want to do that one.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
And Barbara, you'd mentioned Alaska before, so I know it's close to home for everybody. One thing that we are going to have for the first time is we're going to have 2 ships in Alaska starting in 2021. In my background, I've been in cruising for my whole life. My grandparents worked in cruising, and then my dad did as well. And I've been to Alaska 5 times on ships. And the first time I started with Silversea, I went up to Vancouver, and we depart on Thursdays. And I thought it was a little odd, but for all of us who've been to Canada Place Pier, imagine going to Canada Place Pier with 1 ship of 500 people, rather than going there on a Saturday with 7,000 people and maneuvering that. The reason we position ourselves on Thursdays is every single port we visit, Ketchikan, Sitka, Juneau, Skagway, we're the only ship there as well. So you maximize your time, you're not waiting in line, and you're really getting the immersive experience with the small ship off the ship at the same time too.
Great points, exactly. Then the Baltic. How many of you have been to the Baltic? One of my favorite places. We can do the Baltic in 7 nights. We can do it up to 12 nights. We have 2 days in St. Petersburg, 3 days in St. Petersburg, optional tours to Moscow. And one of the beautiful parts of Silversea is we talked about the size of our ship. Think about this. This is our Silver Whisper. She's right in the town of St. Petersburg, right at the English embankment because of the size of our ships. So remember, she's 388 guests. So when you think, and in fact, when I was there, you know, there's like a freight yard, or it's about 15, 20 minutes away that you have to motor in. So here it cuts back on your time. You get to your shore excursions quicker because you're right in town. Another big benefit of Silversea. Iceland, very popular itineraries right now. We do round trip Iceland. We do Iceland, Greenland, all ports up in the Arctic. Here's the Western Med going around the boot. You can do it 10 nights, Italy, Malta, Croatia, and the World Cruise. This is such a great world cruise. And we started it this year in 2020. And what makes our Silver Whisper very unique for world cruises is we now carry Zodiacs. And if you look at this itinerary, it starts in Fort Lauderdale, it goes down South America, and look, Antarctica Peninsula and South Georgia. When I hear some of these multi-thousand passenger ships and they say we go to Antarctica, you know, with all due respect, I'll say, well, was it a drive-by? Were you able to see anything? Did you get off? And they usually say, no, because we just cruised around the Horn. Well, on Silversea, we have expedition leaders. They actually make landings. You'll see, I have a picture later on of the King Penguins in South Georgia. So you really do the landings because we have put on the Zodiacs. And then you go up to Africa, through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, around to Europe, Iceland again, and then over to Copenhagen. So we have, if you're a world cruise people, there's a 22 world cruise we have out, and then we'll be launching 23 in January. So stay tuned for that. So the Silver Moon. The Silver Moon is our 596 passenger ship. She is a sister to the Silver Muse. And we were talking, Chaz and I, before, and saying 3.5 years ago, Chaz and I were in Genoa launching the Silver Muse, and tomorrow we take delivery of our beautiful new ship, the Silver Moon. We typically have great celebrations with the trade, our travel advisor partners, and then all of the Silversea sales department. And at this time, due to the environment, it will just be our CEO and CMO taking delivery. But she is a fantastic ship. You know what they say is that when you build, you know, 2 ships of similar design, you can always improve upon the second one, right? So the top right there is one of our owner suites. Bottom left, and I'll talk a couple of minutes about SALT, Sea and Land Taste. That is our SALT bar. And what that means is we're bringing on the local cuisine and customs of the countries we travel. So in SALT bar, you can have a local craft beer or a local cocktail. And it's just an immersion in that culture. This is our Dolce Vita, and which is our kind of reception area. And then you can see the beautiful pool, a little more expansive. This is where it's kind of a gathering place by reception area, destination services, Shorex. You can have a drink, and then you also just can visit here and relax. Arts Cafe is our version of Starbucks, but I say Starbucks on steroids because in addition to your coffee and pastries in the morning, you can always have a Bloody Mary by 11 o'clock. You can enjoy coffee, specialty coffees in the afternoon, different treats and gelatos, and then also some wine and beer in the afternoon. So,
and Barbara, I really enjoy this area too, just because with the Silversea crowd, we only source about 55% of our guests from North America. So we have a large international footprint. So on the opposite side of Arts Cafe, there is a area with kind of glass displays and so on and so forth. So for our tea drinkers and so on and so forth, there's high tea every day at 4 o'clock outside, where they actually have an outdoor veranda that's dedicated for that too.
Perfect. The beautiful new spa. We'll also be seeing some more shots. The standard balcony veranda, 375 square feet. Absolutely. Walk-in closets, all the beautiful amenities, as I mentioned, with the butler, complimentary stocked bar. Another picture of our beautiful, very spacious verandas. And then next year at this time, almost in the fall, another sister ship to the Muse, the Moon. It'll be the Silver Dawn. Again, sea and land taste. So what we've been asked through the years, and you may have thought about this yourself, traveling around the world, and then if you want to have some local authentic cuisine, you say, let's go out for lunch, right? We're going to go get some tapas in Spain, or if you're in Greek, you get the moussaka in Greece. But here we will have a restaurant dedicated just to local cuisine. So as we travel the world, that restaurant changes. If you're in India, you'll have Indian food. If you're in the Philippines or Asia, you'll have the Asian food. Or Tokyo, you might have some sushi. Or then again in the Greek Isles and Mediterranean, you have the local cuisine. So we will have salt bar, and then we'll have salt restaurant, and we'll have salt lab. Now, this is not a cooking school. It is way more than a cooking school. You really learn about the local customs, the herbs, the spices. You may take a shopping trip. We'll have local chefs on, take a shopping trip with them, learn more about their foods, maybe cook something along the way. But it really is more than a cooking class. Do you agree, Chad?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most exciting things about this program too is this changes by port. It's not simply by the region you're going to. For example, we were supposed to be visiting Ancona on our Silver Moon inaugural, Barbara, that unfortunately we're not on right now. And Ancona there's a specialty wheat farm where they actually make the pasta that's in about 75% of 3-star Michelin restaurants and higher. So the salt excursion would be going there, learning how it's made, bringing it back on the ship, and then cooking with it on the ship that day. So that's how it really separates us, because you're going to be off the ship with your salt ambassador, coming back on ship, seeing the salt lab and the creations of that way too. And then when you go to the salt kitchen, they'll have a different rotating, different menu every single day you're on the ship, in combination with our 7 other restaurants on board. We like to say it's the most in-depth culinary experience you can have at sea, and we're extremely excited for it.
Exactly. And Chaz, why don't you take it away on our beautiful Silver Origin?
Absolutely, Barbara. Thanks so much for that. And so my favorite part of working with Silversea, kind of with Barbara as well too, has been the expansion and expedition. I visited the Galapagos Islands 3 years ago, and I've been on 33 cruises in my life. And by far, this was number one. It was, so people ask, how good was your cruise? What would you rate it? This was like a 12 out of 10. And really what sets us apart is just the absolute loving nature of the onboard crew and the experiences you have in this destination. It's unlike anything else in the world. So I kind of go over the top 5 destinations to visit, the top 5 reasons to visit Galapagos. The wildlife, imagine going back thousands of years in time where you were actually part of the evolution of this destination. You'll have sea lions swim up next to you. You'll have penguins swim up next to you. You have birds literally walking and flying and landing on your shoulder, just because they're not scared of you whatsoever. These animals in the Galapagos have never been hunted before. My personal story, I like to say, is I was swimming and I actually got booped on the nose by a baby sea lion. Then he started jumping over me as I was swimming away. Where else in the world can that happen? And then we have this amazing new vessel, Silver Origin. It's the first joint venture ship that the Royal Caribbean Group has assisted Silversea with. So she's 100 passengers, 86 crew members, has 12 expedition guides and 10 Zodiacs on it. So one thing what you want to focus on with an expedition product is the amount of Zodiacs on the ship, the amount of expedition guides on the ship, and the space. So we can socially distance on the ship correctly and have the lowest amount of guests on Zodiac, and also the lowest amount of guests per expedition guide. And the only time you really can interact with these people, they're kind of like museum curators who are working on their scientific studies at the same time. And this is an example of how you would get onto the Zodiac. So on Silver Origin, we have a marine platform that comes out of the back of the ship where you just take one simple step down onto the Zodiac. And these are actual pictures of the ship that were taken about 3 days ago. These are the first public forum that have seen these. So this really gives you a good perspective of how simple it is to get on one of these destinations. And people ask me, what's the biggest demographic for you for expedition and for the Galapagos in particular? And the average age generally is about 45 to 65. But when I visited, there were 6 kids on my ship, and I was very surprised just because there's no kids program, there's no pool, there's a hot tub. And really where it really helped out was it gave you kind of a lighter feel. When you had a kid in your Zodiac, the expedition guides actually gave them a scavenger hunt to say, find a blue-footed booby, find a red-tailed hawk, find a sea lion. So they were so excited to get out on the Zodiac just because it's like going out in a living zoo as well.
Yeah. Let me just add something too about expedition. People always say, and you might be going there, Chaz, but can I do it? How active is it? How active do I need to be? And we always say, if you can play a round of golf and you can walk up a flight of stairs and look at this Zodiac, this is brand new because the Silver Origin never docks. It's always using the Zodiacs and dropping anchor, which this one has a dynamic anchor. So a dynamic
positioning system.
Thank you, positioning system. So it doesn't really have to drop anchor and disturb the environment. But look at the steps up. We always have staff there to help you, but step between the Zodiac into the platform, few more steps, and then look where you enter. Go ahead, Chaz.
Absolutely. And Barbara, you definitely jumped in right as I would say that. So like I said, like Barbara said, you play around the golf, walk up a flight of stairs. Expedition is a great opportunity for you. And this is how you enter our ship. This is the base camp. This is going to be your reception area where we're going to have 4 expedition guides here at all times. As Barbara mentioned before, we have an exclusive partnership with the Royal Geographic Society. Sir Charles Darwin was a member of the Royal Geographic Society. So these are actual artifacts on loan from the Geographic Society on our ship that influenced Charles Darwin in the theory of evolution as well. And then as you move forward, you can learn in our interactive video wall about certain evolutional aspects of this destination, such as the currents and the water temperature. And that's one of the questions we get a lot too, is how warm is it in this destination? So the air temperature ranges from about 23 to 29 degrees. And then the water temperature sometimes can range as low as 15, but as high as 23. So you get a full wetsuit and goggles, and a mask that you keep per yourself. So every time you get off the ship in a wetsuit, you get in the water, you get it back on the ship and you take it off and you dunk it right where in fresh water, then you hang it back up. And as Barbara mentioned, you have butler service in the Galapagos, and the butlers then return your wetsuit to you in your suite, so you never have to go and retrieving and finding your things here too. But this is an example of what sets Silversea apart. Silver Origin is 100% verandas. At every single one of our ship, every single one of the suites has a private balcony. But this is our grand suite on board. This is the second largest suite where you have a full living room. As you see, you're going to get greeted by an excellent bottle of champagne, over the top service, and kind of we all have these personal stories from our butler experiences. And mine, I was in the Galapagos. I ordered room service one morning, and rather than my waiter bringing us mimosas that were made downstairs, he actually brought up a juicer, a bag of oranges, and a bottle of champagne, and made mimosas fresh in our room.
How would they know you'd want that mimosa there, Chaz?
I don't know. You never know.
They're mind readers too, aren't they?
Exactly. But one thing that's great with this ship is the connection to the outside as well too. So with Galapagos, you're going to want to spend as much time outside as possible. One thing we do recommend is having a bigger hat that covers your neck and a lot of sunscreen, just because it's not exactly super hot, but the sun is very intense given the fact you're on the equator. Every single one of the bedrooms has a window looking outside into the destination. As Barbara mentioned, we never dock here too. And this is an example of the Grand Suite bathroom. The ship never docks, but those windows do go opaque with a switch. But imagine waking up in the morning, have an amazing shower, a pod of dolphins goes by you, a pod of penguins is there, a blue-footed booby flies right by you. It's an amazing ship that connects you exactly with the outside world the entire time.
Okay, I'm hitting. There we go.
Sure, and then also we have our grand suite with our ocean view whirlpool bath, and then also the amazing wraparound veranda here as well too. Absolutely. Barbara. We've got about 10 minutes left here, so we're going to zip through this really quickly. So with the Galapagos, it's an all-inclusive product as well too. So one thing that Barbara mentioned before, completely all-inclusive with expedition. Another thing that we also include is airfare. So we include economy airfare on every single sailing we have, and then upgrades to business class on every single sailing except for Galapagos. But nice thing that's flying to get to your Galapagos trip, you would go from Vancouver or Victoria Island down to Houston, and then Houston Quito. So it's actually shorter to fly to Ecuador than it is to fly to mainland Europe. And also you don't have to deal with the time changes and so on and so forth. There are two itineraries, the Western Galapagos and the North Central Galapagos. We actually amended one of these so that rather than ending at the Falso Irena Giant Tortoise Breeding Center on the last day, we put that as the day before, and then you actually get to have a beach day before you leave as well too. And this is kind of what you get to experience in this destination. Endemic species like blue-footed boobies, amazing experience in the water with the sea lions. And this is an example of how friendly the water is. This is actually our colleague Rachel on her destination as well too. They literally are not scared of you whatsoever. And then one thing I do recommend when you do visit Galapagos is look at the time of the year you're going, just because there are different animal specialties or kind of highlights. So in the spring, the giant green tortoise the giant green turtles they lay their eggs, and then about 3 weeks later you can actually see the babies go into the water too. I was there during sea lion pup season, so really active young sea lions as well. So it's really an amazing destination overall. And also you get to see penguins. This is the only place in the Western Hemisphere outside of Antarctica that you can see these wonderful animals. But as I mentioned, this is one of those places for people who have a bucket list. It's extremely worth it. It's 100% the absolute best trip I've ever done in my entire life. So anyways, Barbara, I think you've traveled some other place on expedition as well.
I have, and I have to say, I had the good fortune of going to the Galapagos, and it is a 12 out of 10. But then again, I might have to say Antarctica is like the 15 out of 10. Antarctica is absolutely breathtaking. We start and return from Ushuaia on our Silver Wind or Silver Explorer. This was my family, and then we met some guests on the left. There's our beautiful Silver Cloud in the background. So when you're traveling, we can have 100 guests ashore. First of all, the beautiful red jackets are all complimentary, as I mentioned. And you do have wet landing, so you'd want to be sure you have our boot rental, or you can bring your own rubber boots. But look, the penguins are waiting for you for your arrival. Well, here I am. So then you get to walk along and see the penguins behind you. But I want to go back to that. So every Zodiac is equipped with a driver and a naturalist. So you have two people in your Zodiac, and then you get to walk along. You're on your own many times, but you can go also with the naturalist to hear more. So we take the walk along. These are the chin strap penguin and the beautiful penguin colony. If you stand still long enough, they may approach you. We can't approach them, but if they come up, because they're very curious animals and they have no fear of humans. We also have some sailings. The majority of our sailings are 10 night, but we have some 16 nights that go down to South Georgia, where you will see hundreds of thousands of king penguins, an incredible sight. Now, when you're not doing your landing, the other half, we have about what, 24, something like that, Zodiacs. So we can have over 200 people ashore at one time, 100 on the peninsula and 100 cruising. So here we are cruising around the icebergs, incredible colors, incredible scenery, breathtaking. And if you're lucky, you will see a whale bubble feeding along. And it just, again, this was our colleague Rachel's photo where she was in the Zodiac and saw this bubble feeding. So amazing. Now, we didn't go into our restaurants, okay? My favorite restaurant on every single Silversea ship is the outdoor restaurant called The Grill. Those of you who might be familiar, a few years ago, we called it Hot Rocks. Why would we call it? So here we're having our appetizer in the evening, a little chilly, but we have heat lamps. See that black stone? That is a rock. It's a hot rock. It's a heated rock, and you cook your own. We had best filet mignon ever, all the great sides. It's just like a great restaurant, but you're sitting outside, again, enjoying the scenery, enjoying the fresh air, and enjoying a great meal. And some of the most magnificent sunsets I've ever seen in the world. Now, next year, we will have 2 solar eclipse cruises, because the solar eclipse is December 4. So
Yep.
you can either take a November 20 sailing on the wind, which is 22 nights, or November 30 for 11 nights on the cloud. So keep that in mind if you're interested. And if you don't have either 10 or 16 days, we now have the Antarctica Bridge, which is a fly cruise. So we will fly you from Punta Arenas on all business class configured plane to King George Island. And then you will board the ship, do 6 days in Antarctica, and then we'll fly you back. All inclusive. So if you have limited time, this might be the sailing for you. And then
Right.
Chaz, tell them about our Great Discover blog.
Absolutely. And Barbara, one thing I wanted to piggyback on as well. So our Antarctica product is also all inclusive. So how it typically works, except if you're doing the fly cruise program, is you either fly into Buenos Aires or Santiago 1 or 2 nights prior. Then you take a charter flight down to Ushuaia, then you board the ship. So everything is all inclusive. Everything's taken care of for you as well. But one piece that I kind of mentioned before was kind of armchair cruising with Red Sea Spirit. This is another great way to do that as well too. So our Discover blog really shows you the organic way of how you experience Silversea. This has no call to action, no selling points. It's actually a lot of the expedition leaders are where we derive all of the content from. The next page shows the opportunities to show where we actually interacted with polar bears live in the Northeast Passage, and a glimpse of the Antarctic albatross eye to eye in South Georgia. And then one piece that really sets us apart in our marketing efforts is we have an exclusive partnership with Steve McCurry, who is actually a Pulitzer-winning photographer who sets us apart with his amazing videography that can be seen moving forward as well too. But as we mentioned previously, it's been a very interesting year for Silversea, but 2021 is shaping up to be extremely popular. So one thing right now that we have is kind of a 5-tiered effort to make sure that you feel comfortable moving forward. So the first one of these is our double bonus promotion. So with a booking right now, obviously the biggest piece is putting a deposit down. And with Silversea right now, if you do book in the next few weeks, it's only requiring a $1,250 deposit Canadian per suite to secure your suite moving forward. Once you then make final payments, we then shift that over to a $1,000 shipboard credit on board as well too. And the biggest kind of focus that we want to make sure is you are securing your investment. So with our Cruise of Confidence policy, you can cancel up to 30 days prior to your voyage and receive up to a 100% future cruise credit to use as well. This is the most robust offer in cruising at this time. Given the fact we are part of Royal Caribbean Group, it's been really a great backing and really has been one of the most popular things that we have to offer in the marketplace right now. Barbara, as we mentioned, this is our double bonus promotion. And if you do book and pay in full, you can save an additional 10% savings as well. So your booking is completely covered by our Cruise of Confidence policy and only requires a $1,250 deposit, and then our 10% pay in full discount really gives you a leg up on moving forward as well. And I'm not sure how many investment portfolios where you can get a 10% return right now as well.
Good point, Chaz. Good point. Yeah. I love this photo. I'm going to turn it back to Chaz, but I have to point out, maybe you're going to do this too.
Yep.
There are not many ships that can go. I know you all know this iconic photo of the Tower Bridge, right? This is our beautiful Silver Wind. I actually had the great pleasure of sailing under the Tower Bridge, and it aligns next to the Belfast. So you have to go through the other ship to get ashore. But it is an amazing feeling to sail right into the heart of London. Again, a big benefit with Silversea. And we love the photo, but I think you'll love the offer more, right, Chaz?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a thank you for attending our event tonight, we are offering a $600 savings per suite if you do make a booking in the next 2 weeks. And then we also have another private sale set up that have opportunities to save up to 20% on select sailings, including sailings to the Antarctic, Arctic, Greenland, Europe, Galapagos, and Alaska. But everybody, thanks so much for joining us here today. Kathy, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I have to say, my Silversea voyage was spectacular. And I was very nervous about going on at first because I thought, what am I going to do with the butler?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's going to be so dressed up and I'm going to feel so intimidated. But we walked on and the staff was all lined up and you just felt at home. And our butler, he kept our champagne filled constantly. And he was our wake up call every morning. He would come in and wake us up, and here's your breakfast. And we had 3 ladies sharing our suite, and we had more than enough room and a huge bathroom, massive bathroom. I can't even tell you, for 3 ladies to share a bathroom, it was unreal. So well done. Fantastic. And did we have enough time to do a little bit of an open forum, or what are we stuck on time? No time. So thank you so much, Barbara and Charles, for joining us. That is a really fantastic itineraries that you have there. Especially excited about that flying over the Drake Passage.
Absolutely.
You mean the Drake Lake?
Yeah.
The Drake Lake?
Yeah, that makes it really doable for me.
But it's worth it. I went through the Drake and I made it, and it wasn't bad at all. And I tell you, it is so worth the trip. But now you have an option. You can fly.
I have an
over.
option. I am going to take you up on that option.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We hope to have you on again real soon when everything's up and running. And please send us the information on the inaugural. We'll post that for everybody that wants to watch. And thank you for those video links. Those are fantastic, and people will love those. And next week we have a surprise for you, i.e. we have no idea who we're having next week. But if anybody has any suggestions, please let us know. And have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
It was great seeing you. Bye-bye.